We're going to do a PowerPoint because of insurance and taxes is not exactly an exciting area. And some of it you need to refer back to, so it'll be available afterwards as well as we go through it. We're going to try to do it on bullet points because I just said insurance is not the most exciting part, but something we all have to have. And so you have your local agent and you should work with your local agent, whoever that is. And every 3 to 5 years, sit down with them and say, okay, what are my coverages? What are my weaknesses? And so these are just some bullet points that you might want to say, some of them will be effective to you and some won't. And so as we go through it, the first one we talk about is the bullet point of hired and non-known audit. And you think, well, I don't have any employees. I don't need to have hard audit. That's very possible. If you have no employees, you don't need hard audit. But non-known audit, well, that's a different story. We're going to talk about Brother Bill. Brother Bill, you know, you're running a little business a cafe in Russellville, and you need a battery or a belt or something. And you call Brother Bill who lives in Cincinnati and says, on your way home tonight, would you swing by and pick up that for me? Yeah, I'd be glad to, sis. I'll do that for you. Brother Bill has an accident. So what happens? He was driving home from work, right? He would never sue his sister. But there's a problem with that. In the society we live in today, what happens in that accident? State patrolman or police officer takes a report. And if Brother Bill says, I was driving home from work, probably everything's good. But you know, Brother Bill's probably going to say, I was picking up a battery from my sister. Well, guess what? The insurance company is going to read that police report. Because every insurance company, no matter who you're insured with, they're trying to figure out a way to get out paying a claim. And the first thing they see is sister. Aha. So they come back to the cafe here, and the cafe doesn't have non-owned auto. So now Brother Bill is going to sue his sister. Well, obviously the brother won't, but the insurance company will. So non-owned auto covers the people that's not necessarily part of the business, but they're doing it. It could be your next door neighbor. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. And so make sure, if you have any business exposure whatsoever, that you have an endorsement for non-known and hard auto. Bullet point 1. And there's a little cheat sheet there you can see. The next bullet point is co-insurance. As a business owner, you're a little different than a homeowner's. Homeowners, you have replacement costs, and your insurance agent's responsible to make sure it's insured correctly. Business, that's not the fact. You're responsible as a business owner to insure it correctly. And you're also responsible to insure it to 80%, at least. And so, yeah, you trust your insurance agent. That's a conversation you got to sit down with and say, you know, and I always use the example of tobacco barns in Brown County. Because tobacco barns, it costs $100,000 to build it back. Well, if you insure it as a typical building and you have a partial loss and you've put $50,000 on it because you know you're not going to build back that tobacco barn, well, you have the claim. The insurance adjuster comes out and says, well, you only insured half your building, $50,000 instead of $100,000. So we're only going to pay half the claim. And so if you had a $10,000 claim, you're going to get $5,000. So co-insurance is the responsibility of the business owner, not the insurance agent. And that's why I say every 3 to 5 years, you need to sit down with that insurance agent and say, okay, here's what I've got. Because rest assured, I guarantee you, Maria's got more in inventory today than she did 6 months ago. And she probably hadn't talked to her insurance agent. And so now who's responsible? We like to think we review our people annually every year, but we don't come out and talk to you and say, okay, what have you changed from the previous year? So co-insurance is one of those hidden things that might get you. The one you see there is basic, broad, and special. I just put that in there for future reference to basically give you an idea of what are my coverages. Look at your policy because you read it. So how do I understand this? Basic, broad is what you see on most insurance companies. And then on your homeowners, you'll usually see special. So know it from a business exposure. And there gives some examples of the co-insurance because when I shut up, you're going to say, what the heck do you say about co-insurance? So there are some examples there. Bullet point number 3, workers' compensation. We just talked about the workers' comp from the chamber. For new business owners, do you need workers' compensation? I have no employees. Do I need workers' comp? You absolutely do. Everyone needs workers' compensation. If you have anything in any way that's involved with business, Brother Bill, he's coming back into the story again. Brother Bill is your employee. Per the state of Ohio, Brother Bill is an employee. He has an accident, gets hurt. He comes over, helps in the cafe, slips on the ladder. He was just helping paint, nothing big deal. He wasn't getting paid, except maybe a cup of coffee. Guess what? You're going to go to health insurance. Health insurance. What do they ask you when you're in hospital? How'd this happen? It's a part of a business. Da 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 da. Anthem's going to get the claim. They're going to say, aha, the cafe should be paying that. Now, Brother Bill wasn't getting paid, but you as a business owner are responsible. I even tell my little old ladies, I'll say, I'm going to be a little old man, I guess, but little old ladies, you probably should have workers' compensation if you have someone mow your yard, clean the gutters, anything like this is part of workers' compensation. Sue the state of Ohio. It's very simple. You don't go to the chamber for the simple ones. You just sign on the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. It's a minimum premium. That way, if anybody does anything for you, you got coverage. And you think, oh, well, that'd be covered under my homeowners. Well, again, it's not, because you're giving that guy $20 to mow your yard. At that point, that is a contract. So workers' compensation. Now, for you guys with lots of employees, absolutely. You want to be part of a group. The Chamber of Commerce would be a great group to be a part of, because it saves you a lot of premium. And it does many times save your dues amount. And it talks about employees paid or unemployed. And the next page talks about employer's liability. And for those of you that do have employees, do you need employer's liability? You think, oh, I'll have that on my insurance policy. No, you probably don't. If you haven't met with your agent in the last couple of years, you probably don't have it. Employer's liability, ironically, came about from Claremont County 20-some years ago when stopgap came into place, workers' comp, and employer's liability. Not to bake in insurance or a legal lawyer here, but just know that employees can actually sue you on and above workers' compensation. So you better make darn sure you have employer's liability, employee liability as part of your package. Most people do not. That is definitely a question today. If you're running a business, write it down to talk to your insurance agent and say, hey, do I have employee liability? Make sure in this day and age you do. Independent contractors. Most of you out there today say, I use independent contractors. I don't do any of this. Well, per the IRS, there's not very many independent contractors. Most people are employees. What it comes down to basically, if you tell that person where to be, when to do it, and how to do it, they're an employee. I don't care if you signed a contract to say, this is going to be paid $1,000. That is not an independent contractor. That is an employee. Per the IRS, very few people can be classified as an independent contractor. If you truly believe they're an independent contractor, you better make sure you read this information or go to the IRS website and you think, what's it matter? I'll tell you what matters. The IRS, they have a heart. They really do. Most IRS auditors will work with you. Most of them are compassionate with you, especially small business owners. They really will work and try to bend to protect you and help you. The one that doesn't, well, it's called Social Security. When you have an independent contractor, you don't pay Social Security tax. And they'll take your firstborn in your house and never blink an eye. They have no sympathy whatsoever, and they're looking for you. So if you're paying somebody under a 1099, you better be thinking real hard about stopping it immediately, because the Social Security people, they're looking for you, and they're looking for you regularly. The IRS, again, they don't really care. Social Security, they do care. They want their 15%. So better not cheat on that one. Talks about employer's liability there. And the next bullet is ATV. As I said, these are just things you talk to your insurance agent about. You own an ATV. Do you need an insurance policy? Nah, I don't need an insurance policy. If I lose it, I lose it. Well, there's a little thing called the state of Ohio law. The state of Ohio says you must have an insurance policy on ATV if it ever leaves your property. They'll never leave my property. What if you have property on both sides of the road? Or grandma's on this side and you're on this side. You cross the road. Guess what? You just left your property and you're on public property. If an accident happens, guy slams on his brakes because he saw you and runs into the ditch, who's responsible for the accident? The ATV. You go to your insurance company under your homeowners. I'm sorry, we have no coverage for that. ATVs are insured separately. Just remember that. Now, UTVs, that is not the case. So if you got your nice little gator, yeah, you're good. Just the way the law was written. If it's an ATV, it's classified as an ATV, you need an insurance policy. And all kinds of companies will write it. Foremost American Mod writes a lot of it. They're not expensive. It's $100 and some a year. Just be aware, everybody just assumes it's covered by your foreign policy or your home policy. It is not. Next bullet, pollution. Now let's talk about Maria and her worms. All of her thing, pollution there or not. You know, you think about, well, why would I ever have pollution? Painters, beauticians, farmers, a lot of different businesses have exposure to pollution. And they think, well, if anything happens, it's covered under my insurance. No, it is not. Again, pollution is specifically excluded if you have anything that the federal or state government or county government can come in to say, you polluted a stream or you polluted this, you're responsible for it. Most of it doesn't affect. All I'm telling you is make sure you have that conversation with your insurance agent. Do I need pollution liability? Most people really do if they're in any kind of occupation, contractors, building a home. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. You know, so it's, again, not a huge amount. Umbrella? Well, yeah, we all need an umbrella. Why do I need an umbrella? Well, your ATV, you buy a nice policy, it's $500,000 coverage. In that car accident I was talking about, somebody got killed. So you did your part. You did your ATV policy for $500,000. Now, a death, probably $500,000 is not enough. You buy $1 million coverage or a $2 million umbrella. Everybody says, oh my gosh, it's going to cost a fortune. Most umbrellas for most small business and most homeowners, you're talking a few $100s. It's probably one of those loopholes we just forget to close. It's a conversation to have with your insurance agent. Make sure you look at an umbrella for your business and your personal exposure as well. And the next one we talk about is what type of entity do I need? And there's a full page here of, I think, 4 different pages on talking about what entity I should use. If you're starting out, the simplest thing from a tax standpoint is what's called a single member LLC. Talk to your lawyer. If you don't have a lawyer, you're not going to pay a lawyer. Well, you can go online and do LegalZoom and actually file with the Secretary of State and file it correctly. But a single member LLC, the reason that's important is you don't have to file business tax returns. You file it under your Schedule C of your personal tax return. So it's something simple until maybe it will do everything you need to do. It is the simplest form, but you do need to do something. The sole proprietorship sets yourself up to lose your house. And that's what we got to talk about. I mean, I can work with you in insurance and try to cover everything humanly possible and sell you everything under the sun. We might still miss something. Or we might have a fatality that costs more than we got insurance for. So make sure you set up a separate entity so it stops your liability at your place, at your business. And a single member LLC will do that. Lots of good lawyers will do it for you, probably for $300 to $400. You know, and I'll plug, you know, we have Tyler Hotel in Mount Orb, he's brand new. Jim Shorter at Sardinia is brand new. Maria, you were talking about helping the local people. There's 2 business owners that are just getting started that absolutely could use your help. And that's not to put the other lawyers down. They got more business than they probably do anyway. And these guys are for $300 or $400. Then when you go in and say it, so it's $500. It's like, okay, well, I'm not the lawyer, but I think it's $300 to $400 to do everything. We're going to move all the way up to red flags for the IRS. Okay, so you're sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, just give me something here and move on off of insurance. Let's talk about taxes. What are the things that tax preparers look for? And if you're using a CPA, great. I would tell you to use a tax preparer. Because tax preparers, the reason we started Painless Tax Services, we wanted to be different. We wanted to be someone that looked for your issues and tried to deal with you directly. CPAs are black and white. Our wife's a county auditor. Rest assured, we have our discussions. She's black and white, and I'm as gray gets. That's our gray hair too, but I love the gray area. I love to beat the IRS at their own games. And so I like to play in that gray area. But a CPA, as a rule, is a black and white person. This is right, this is wrong. Well, world is not a right and wrong. There's a big area in the middle. And you need to play in that middle. We don't want to give the IRS any more money than we absolutely have to give. And so that's what I tell you. You know, Mary, who's in this building, will sit down with you and say, hey, here's some things to think about. Not telling you how to cheat, that's not our job, but we will tell you what to look for. And sometimes, maybe the CPA doesn't. I'm anti-CPA, I guess, but they don't always look for the gray area. But these are things you need to think about. If you take anything away today, take some of these bullets, and they're for personal as well as business. The first one that the IRS looks for, and what you have to remember is the IRS is not looking at your return from personal. The computer is. And so it's our responsibility as your tax preparer to know what that computer is looking for. And we study a lot of hours and a lot of continuing ed to make sure we know what the IRS is looking for. Here's some bullets that Kippinger put out, and they're the biggest in the business. They really know what the IRS is looking for. It changes from year to year, but most of them stay pretty consistent. The first one is failure to reporting all income. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, things are going to change in the next 6 months in the taxes. The one thing you better be scared of is Biden's current proposal to know your bank account. Because if they get the authority to know everything in your banking account, look out. But let me explain something the IRS already does. The IRS can audit you at any given moment, and they can pull every bank account you have and know every dollar you put in it. So don't think you're going to outsmart the IRS. It's already there. But they have to have costs. Biden's administration wants to do away with the word costs. They want to do it carte blanche. All I'm saying is absolutely make sure you report every dollar you receive. Now, the little old man that mows your grass and you give him $20, yeah, maybe that don't go to the bank. If it's a check, it better. The IRS will monitor every dollar you bring. Make sure you never underreport money. All you got to do is go back, if you're as old as me, is Pete Rose. Pete Rose do anything wrong? I don't know. What did he get caught on? He didn't report income from signing signatures. That's why he went to jail. Had nothing to do with anything else. And if you look at most people that get in trouble with the IRS, it's because they didn't report income. The next one is large charitable contributions. Again, we have to remember a computer is doing this, not a human, a computer. It looks for large charitable contributions. I believe as a business owner, you need to get 10% back to your community. You know, just put it in your operating budget that 10% of your net income is going back to your community. That is not norm. So you better make darn sure you're legit when you do it. And if you happen to give $5,000 to Eastern schools, well, you better make darn sure you got that documented because the IRS is going to come knocking. Now, don't be scared of the IRS. If you do that, you're going to get a letter from the IRS and say, would you please document this $5,000 donation? It's a letter generated by a computer. It's usually a simple letter back from your tax preparer saying, hey, yep, here's a copy of the receipt from Eastern Schools. You did get $5,000. And that's the end of it. But be aware that that will trigger an audit. Now, not a full audit, just a contribution audit. The next one is rental losses. Rental losses. I have more arguments in my office about rental losses than any other thing. Everybody likes to claim. Well, the IRS has basically said, if you have rental property, does it mean you can have a rental loss? First of all, you have to be actively involved in renting the property. We could go into the details of whether you are or you aren't. The IRS says you better be the one changing the toll. That's what it comes down to. You can't just do it from carte blanche high up here and say, I'm renting that property. Rental losses, the IRS is they're scheduling to watch Schedule E. So be aware of that. It's probably a loss I would be very cautious about taking. As you're working on your tax return preparer, that's one the IRS is flagged to say, here, we're watching. And the next one, absolutely, hobby as a loss. I'll tell my age, but the easiest way I can compare it is the good old Avon lady. I guess it could be an Avon man, but Avon, you know, you went out and you sold to your neighbors and your family and your friends. And there's lots of other things out there. I see it on Facebook all the time. They're selling these clothes or this makeup or whatever. And you deduct it. And you deduct your expenses. Well, The IRS is monitoring those and saying, folks, that's not a business, that's a hobby. So you can make sure it is a business. You better not be deducting your losses because the IRS is monitoring Schedule Cs, and particularly ones that have losses on that type of business. It could be any type of business, but if truly you're following a Schedule C, you better be able to justify that it is a for-profit business, that your intent is to make profit. And talking about that, your CPA will tell you you need to make money 2L5, 3L5. That's not the law. The law is very pointed. It says intent to profit. It doesn't say 2L5, 3L5. That's all stuff we've made up in the business world. You can lose money 5 years in a row as long as you have intent to make profit. But rest assured, if you lose money 5 years in a row, and that's the difference between black and white and gray, you better have a reason why you lost business 5 years in a row. But if indeed, if you're up and growing, that is something to be aware of. Travel expense. Remember, computers doing this. Yeah, with COVID, we haven't traveled near as much, but the IRS is monitoring travel. Don't have a bunch of stuff on your travel line, so be cautious of what you're putting on that travel line because the computers are watching it and they're watching, and it's all in ratios. And so they know your income and they look at your ratio of travel and they know it should be 4% or 5%. And if it's 11%, it automatically kicks an audit. So just be cautious of your travel. Another one we tend to forget is you won $500 at the casino. Remember, the IRS knows where money's at. They definitely know where casino money's at. If you won $500, you better darn well be putting it on your tax return. They're watching it again. For a few years they did it. They're now watching casino gambling winnings or your racetrack the same way. The next one is, and this one is another one we argue about, 100% of business use in your vehicle. Oh, we like to take that vehicle business expense. Yeah, I only use it for business, so I'm taking 100%. Well, unless it's a 2-ton truck and you're hauling gravel and you never do anything else in it, you better not be taking 100%. You think, well, that truck could never do anything, because I'll tell you what the auditor's going to ask you. Did you ever take your kids to school in that truck? Did you ever stop and buy a gallon of milk in that truck on the way home from delivering the gravel? And if you can honestly say no, okay. But be aware the IRS is saying most of the time you probably did something that wasn't 100% business use. And so that's what I tell people, don't take 100%. Don't even let the computer see 100%. Take 80, take 85%. Because invariably you're going to stop at the dollar store on the way home. And so that way, when the IRS auditor comes for something else, he looks at the 85% and says, this person's been pretty fair. And that's the thing with taxes, is try to always be fair. If the IRS auditor looks at it, you remember I just said, most of the time they're pretty good girls, pretty good gals. If you take 85%, he's not, they're being legit. But if you take 97, 98, 99, he's going to start thinking, okay, if they're pushing the line there, they're probably pushing it somewhere else. Early retirement payout. Life gives us lemons at times, and we need money. And so we go to our retirement funds or IRA funds and we borrow money. It's a trigger of audit from the IRS. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Just be aware when you do it, it gives them another red flag. And our job as the tax return preparer is to look at your red flags and make you aware that even though we did this, we need to be prepared to address it. Now, again, there's probably a 3 or 4% chance to follow up on it, but it is something they're watching. What did you do with the money? And so they're going to see where they're follow the flow of the money. Maybe you gave it to your grandma. Maybe you had a kid that was sick, whatever. Maybe you built a bank building, bought a bank building in Russellville. I don't know what else, but they want to know where the money went. Even though it was your money, doesn't matter. Remember, the IRS follows the money. Home office deduction. Well, that's another one that everybody wants to do, home office deduction. If you have a facility that you can have an office in, you best not be taking home office deduction. They absolutely will tear you apart on that one. You can't have an office in home and an office here. I'll pick on Maria. She probably shouldn't be taking, I know Jeff does our taxes. I don't know if he's taking home office, but you probably shouldn't be taking it because she can declare this as an office. They don't like double dipping. The IRS really doesn't like people that try to double dip. And home office is one they know most people double dip on. Because they say, well, we can take some internet at home, we can take some electric at home, we can take, And you usually use a bedroom to begin with, and they probably got a kid sleeping in the bedroom. And so it's just a home office deduction, probably one just stay away from. For the few $100s you save, it probably isn't worth the flag. And the last one, this is a problem for everybody. If you make over 200,000, your odds of being audited are a lot better. So for those of you who make over 200,000, just be prepared. Little note at the bottom there, standard mileage for 2021 is going from 57.5 to 56 cents. Just stuck it in there. It'll probably go up for 2022, but we'll wait and see what they do. The next page, and I'll address the people with employees. Are you waiting for a refund? If you're seeing it on screen, you don't have to worry about it. What you're looking for, a business deduction. 21, 22. And I don't know whether to give credit to Trump or Biden on this one, but somebody did a good thing here. They're basically trying to take care of employees. Whatever you're doing for employees, you can deduct. Whatever you're doing for employees, you can deduct 100%. Here's a little chart that breaks it out. Used to be, if I took an employee to lunch, well, technically I was supposed to tax it. Should have been on his W-2. If you did it once or whatever, nobody worried about it. But the law was very specific. I could not buy employees lunches. It's called the discrimination lawsuits and everything else. Well, they've changed all that. Now I can take you to Alaska. If I want to take you golfing, I can deduct it. And I can take your spouse. So employee and their spouse, I can basically do anything I want to. Take them on trips. And you even notice in here, the Chamber of Commerce is listed. Any Chamber of Commerce function, meals, motels, whatever, 100% deductible. That's all been changed. And I think it comes back to the whole employee situation that we're in now, trying to help hold employees. The IRS, and I've told you several times, the IRS really does have it off the heart. And I really believe this is where they come down and said, okay, we're going to try to help the business owners the best we can by giving them something for their employees. And so be aware of that. Now, prospects, that's one that everybody cheats on. If you're a business owner, you've probably cheated on this one. You take a prospect to the Cincinnati Reds game. Can you deduct them? Absolutely not. Now, you can be creative and say it was marketing and da-da-da-da-da. But the IRS says you can't buy that Reds ticket. I can take my employee and take their spouse, but I can't take a prospect. So be aware that still the laws are still there for business and marketing. You can't deduct everything. The next page is capital gains. For those of you who are thinking about selling something, it is important to know that capital gains will probably be changing. Capital gains for 2021, as of this moment, have not really changed exactly as 2020. 0, 15, and 20% max. I'm telling you that will change dramatically within the next 6 months. I don't believe that the Republicans will hold totally tight on it. I think they'll give in. And eventually, my guess is it'll end up 28 to 29%. And so instead of paying 39%, which is what the Democrats want currently, it'll probably end up in the 27 to 29%. Whatever, it's going up. So be aware that capital gains is going to go up. So what does that mean to you? Very simply, 100%, you sell it, make $100,000. Don't forget you're going to owe Uncle Sam 25 to 30,000 bucks. Don't go spend it. And then realize, oh, my taxes owe 25 grand. Long-term capital gains is there and they're not going anywhere. Talking about, look, just briefly about what is coming. If you read the House bill that came out 2 weeks ago now, taxable income will be higher in 2022. So as you end your year as a business owner, typically I'd tell you try to hide as much income, so to speak, and then advance your expenses. It's probably the opposite for 2021. Talk to your tax preparer, but probably in 2021, you want to claim all the income you possibly can and shoot down the road all your expenses. So what's that mean? You don't pay your electric bill. You don't pay extra bills in December. In fact, you push them to January because you're going to need the expenses in 2022. Just the opposite of what we've always told you. The reason being is I'm very comfortable that Congress will come out with a new tax bill and tax rates will go up. And so why not pay the 2021 taxes and be done with it? Again, talk to your tax preparer. For that, I'm done. Are we on time? I didn't
We're
look.
good. Yeah, we have about
Questions?
9 minutes.
Okay,
I have a question.
yes,
The UTV,
okay,
is that covered under your farm policy?
yes.
Okay, so you don't have to have that separate, it's just under the farm
Yep.
policy.
Most, and a lot of gators and that kind of, things there, you want to list them under your farm, it's like a tractor, but they're listed. The state of Ohio looks at them as a tractor.
Okay.
And so that way you can just list them and they're covered under the farm policy. But for some reason ATVs, they pick on. And I think I know why, if you looked at some razors and whatever, and, it's scary what some of these people are paying for some of these ATVs now. I mean, it's more than a car. So,
Pricey.
yeah, so the insurance companies are saying, wait a minute, yeah. And some of the things you do on them probably are part of the reason too, but yeah, it is automatically covered. Any other questions?
Someone just wanted to make sure that they will be able to receive the PowerPoints from today's presentation. We will send them out after the event. And then that was the only question.
Okay, sounds good. We'll move on then.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
So smarter now.
I'm glad you're my tax rep since I can call you.
There you go.
Because I do have a few questions.
That was a lot of good information. Thank you, Paul. All right, let's just take a quick 2-minute break. We're going to get Diane Cohorn from First State Bank up via Zoom. And then we will have Deanne Stricklet right after her. All right, so next we're going to hear from Diane Cohorn at First State Bank, and she is via Zoom. I think we're ready for you, Diane.
I think she's unmute.
Can you unmute Diane?
We can see her, but we can't hear her.
Okay, we can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Are you on Zoom? You can click to request to unmute, maybe that'll pop up something on her screen. Am I imagining I'm hearing somebody like from far away? Like, is that in my head?
No, we still can't hear you.
I wonder if it has to do with her computer speakers.
She can dial in from her phone and put the computer on mute and then use the audio portion from her phone.
Okay, we're having just a little technical difficulty, maybe just a minute.
We want to go online and then try her again.
So Diane's having a little trouble connecting to the audio, so we'll go on and we'll have Deanne, her presentation next. So Deanne Stricklet lives near West Union, Ohio, and is a John Maxwell Certified Leadership Trainer, Speaker, and Coach. Dee's master's degree in educational administration is from the University of Dayton. Deanne has served as a classroom teacher and school administrator for several school districts, as well as a trainer for the Resilient Building Leadership Company located in San Diego, California. Deanne has a passion for working with adults and children. One of her passions is supporting increased communication and leadership skills. Her primary goal in life is to add value to everyone she encounters. So Deanne, I'll turn it over to you. Just in case.
Need just a second here to get organized.
Oh, let's see, this doesn't have a thing to hold it. Does it?
Well, hello, everyone. It's kind of weird because you can see me, I can't see you, but I'm so excited to be here, and I've already learned a lot just listening to these speakers who have gone prior to me. And it's interesting because some of the things that I will talk about kind of correlates with some of the things that they have said. So I always think that that's pretty exciting. So I so admire their ability to get up and